I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to Vets Chatting with Granny Lisa. Tonight, Granny has on Eryck Stamper, 23-year Navy veteran, and he also is with Mission Beelieve. Let's bring on Granny and see what else she's got up her sleeve for us tonight.
Doing?
There we go.
We're here somewhere. You know what? I have moved into my own rental house, and my hat's all crooked, and I don't know which side I'm on. But I am so excited because we have a gentleman who, like you had mentioned, a 23 served Navy veteran, and he has information on beekeeping and how his program will benefit veterans. And I've always been very scared of bees, but lately I've been watching videos of how people are changing the whole system about bees. And so I'm excited to hear about this. I know I talked to a few outside veterans who said that they wanted to tune in and learn about beekeeping and how it will help them and with their PTSD and different things. So I guess we should bring him on and let him talk. Hey, Eryck, welcome to the show.
Hey, Granny Lisa. Hey, Peggy. How's the two of you doing?
Very good.
We are doing great. And just so you guys know, we do have a little bit of a delay going on. So it's not because we're being snotty to our guest. It's just we're giving him enough time to finish talking. So, Eryck, I would like for you to kind of give us your background. You were in the Navy, like what you did, and how you got to the point, because you've had many years of experience with veterans, I'm sure, and the different issues that we all have, and how beekeeping came into your life and has it helped you?
Great. Thank you, Granny, for having me on the show. Vets Chatting with you is just amazing, and it's a lot of ways for us veterans and otherwise to talk about different programs and things that are going on, not just our lives, but in the lives of a lot of veterans from a lot of different perspectives. So I'm Eryck Stamper. I'm the outreach coordinator for an organization called Mission Beelieve, and we're a therapeutic beekeeping program for active duty veterans, first responders, and their families. So we carry a broad axe when we're talking about therapy, beekeeping, not just for therapy, but even a lifestyle or even a profession. So it takes, like in the military, it takes a whole family to make it happen. And
Right.
so we'll start from the beginning. I come from a family, grew up in Baltimore City, so city slicker, if you will. I always knew I'd go into the military. I've had my great grandfather supported our military activities. My grandmother did a little, not work in the military, but she just finished the book, and she talks about some of her early childhood and the military. My father, my mother, both in the military. My grandfather was a cook in the Navy.
Wow.
My uncle, great uncle, both Navy. So you can see where we're going with this. I was destined for the Navy. I was the first in the family actually to make a whole career out of it. So I had a long line of Army, Marine Corps, Navy. And I knew from the beginning Navy was going to be where I would end up. Growing up in the city, we were kind of poor, and there was poverty, the food stamps and, the city life. And So it was, it was okay growing up. There weren't many problems. I enjoyed life. I was a happy-go-lucky kid. And so I joined the Navy even before I graduated high school. The recruiter had to come down to the bar where my mother was working to sign my life away. She was a bartender for a little while. So, they had a beer after, I signed my name, and my mom signed since I was too young. So delayed entry program was a program that the Navy had where, you could sign while you're still in high school, do a little bit of drilling and, formation and training before you left. And so I guess I got lucky in how I went about it. I went off to boot camp in 1990, just when I graduated high school. That began my Navy career. I didn't realize till, 23 years later, I probably had ADHD, and I had probably had a little bit of early trauma going into the military. But the military was a wonderful place. It kept me busy. It kept me active for 23 years. So I say to this day, Navy stands for Never Again Volunteer Yourself. We love acronyms. So that's part of, what I believe. I learned a lot about volunteerism, a lot of education, without a doubt, a lot about our country, and a lot about, our place in the military, especially the Navy. And so it feels like I've never left. I've retired in 2000, and it feels like I'm still in the military. So active duty, I work with veterans. So we all come from the same mindset, and it hasn't changed. So I still feel at home with active duty, like our veterans, and good communities. So what led me to beekeeping? Well, so after I got out the military, I was kind of lost and confused. I went through all the transition training, all the great stuff that the military, mandates on us as we're leaving. They don't want to leave us high and dry. But that might have happened many years ago. But I retired in 2013. We were mandated training and how to transition to get out and like looking for jobs, resume writing, job hunting, medical. They talked to us about our VA. So I can only speak for myself. My transition was really simple. The only problems is, coming from a military lifestyle, and how does that work in what I call the real world now? My real world was military, right? Yeah. We all follow, most of us follow rules and policies and procedures. When I was leaving, I was helping. Yeah. When I was leaving, I was helping to write policies and procedures. So that transition, I transitioned from the grave back into the grave. So I was confused. I didn't know what I was going to do. I held a couple. Yeah, I was 20,
Yeah.
How old was I? 38. So I retired at a young age, technically
you did.
retiring at, 69, 32. So I'm at 38. Like, what am I going to do with my life now? I was married at the time, raising a family, and it was hard for me to get back to work. I held a few jobs that I thought were great jobs for me, but it wasn't easy. So I worked for the state, Park Service. I worked for government contracting, and a little bit here and there. And I realized I couldn't. It's hard for me to work for people. I just felt like my mission wasn't, what I was hoping. And so I decided I needed some help. So I was going to the VA for medical care. He introduced me to a program. At the time, it was called Voc and Rehab. And basically, it was a program that allowed me to go to school. At the same time, where I was going to school would get support for, sending me to school. So I didn't know what I was doing. I was just bouncing around to different hobbies. And I saw a sign that says organic farming. And coming from the city and my lifestyle and what I wanted to do to kind of transition out of the city life more into a country lifestyle. I said, well, this should be neat. It should keep for a little while. So I went to a couple of free classes at a place called TALMAR. Acronyms, it's Therapeutic Alternatives of Maryland.
Okay,
I went to
Eryck,
2 free classes. Yeah.
got it. I want to let you know that we do have slides loaded, your slides. And so when you want them up, just say so. Okay? Before I forget,
okay.
I wanted to let you know.
No problem.
So your acronym on your organic farming.
Yeah. TAMAR, Therapeutic Alternatives of Maryland. That's where I had some free training and walked into the trailer, their admin building, and realized they had a whole VA Farms program. There were only 3 of these programs in the whole country. And here in Maryland, there was TAMAR, a VA farm program. And so, wow, I said, this is amazing. So I enrolled, got approved. It took a little while to get approved through the VA, the Devoken Rehab Program, which is now VRD. And so after registration, and about a month later, farm school started. So I was going to organic farm school for about 8 months. And that program, it wasn't a simple program. I spent a lot of time up there, about 4 days a week. I'd go on my off time with, after school hours, just so I could like come to peace with who I was, where I was going, and what I wanted to do. I had to write a complete farm plan. And at the time, really didn't know what I was going to do. That's when I realized I need to get serious about a focus. So started developing this farm plan back when I was graduating 2018-19 time frame. Hemp became legal in the state of Maryland. So I thought this was a great opportunity to mix some things that I already know a little bit about from the medicinal side to a more industrial side. So my farm plan was a 3-acre hemp farm, and that was just the beginning. It allowed me to open doors up to create my own company called the Maryland Hemp Exchange. So a good 3 years, I was working with organic farming and training, as well as industrial hemp for a new crop for Maryland. It was a good pipe dream. I recently closed that company down when I moved here to West Virginia, realizing what I was trying to do would cost millions of dollars, as well as the infrastructure that wasn't really even in this country at the time. So, always pushing ahead and looking ahead. I've started working deep with a lot of big national, international hemp companies and organizations.
When
grew a
you
couple
say
acres of hemp at the University of Maryland. And this is where I learned in agriculture.
Well, I have a question. When you say hemp, is that hemp and cannabis, or is it the same? So you were growing cannabis for sale or for distribution to distributors? I'm learning about this, so I'm not sure what the proper names are of it, but you were doing that and also making hemp products? Okay.
Yep. So
right.
I wasn't making hemp products at the time. There's a distinction between industrial hemp and hemp. It's all under the cannabis umbrella. So from the industrial side, it's a 0.03% or less of THC, tetracannabinol. So below that, it's basically industrial hemp. So I was growing a fiber grain seed called the X59. It's a dual seed. These plants get 15 feet tall. So we're really using it for the fiber and the seed. We could have used it for consumables, could have used it for animal feed or what have you. So these were the big dreams that I was shooting for. And realizing after about 2 years, we really needed some serious infrastructure change to the state. We needed thousands of acres of, farmland to grow on. And we really needed a proper seed source because, in the agriculture world, I was going to say that seed source is really important. So anybody looking to do any farming, make sure you know where your seeds are coming from and that they're viable.
Right.
I
We have
wasn't
a
so
lot of
successful.
veterans.
We had some 2 acres
Mm-hmm.
growing up at the University of Maryland. None of it germinated. And so.
Oh, I was going to say we have a lot of veterans.
So yeah, we had
in
0
our
germination, and so
we're having such a big delay. I don't know. But I was going to say, Eryck, is that we have a lot of veterans that do growing, for their seeds and for their PTSD, medical, all of that. And so it's interesting that you started off with something that so many veterans benefit with, and now you're into another area that's just as beneficial, I'm sure, in different ways. Did you realize that you would be doing that for veterans?
without a doubt.
Or is it just something?
It's funny you say that, Granny Lisa, because I realized early on that I was wearing 2 hats at the same time. At the same time, I was creating the Maryland Hemp Exchange, for hempwood and hempcrete, and the future of hemp, or well, I should say, bringing back hemp, because industrial hemp was already around way before when. And in the military, we had this Hemp for Victory program in World War II. So at the same time, I was a medical patient, and I took what I was learning to create my company with the farm plan. At the same time, I opened up a nonprofit called Veterans Initiative 22. So I felt like I could carry the weight of both at the same time. Some of the people were the same folks, some of the equipment and the material, it all kind of fell together, but yet there was this major distinction between the both. Veterans Initiative 22, it's kind of twofold: hiring business practices for veterans, family, and first responders in the cannabis, alternative, and holistic healthcare space. At the same time, we're working with the cannabis industry, the medical industry, finding job opportunities for veterans and their families, as well as offering a discount. I like to say an incentive on medical cannabis. At the time, we were losing an estimated 22 veterans a day due to suicide. We know to double that now, but we know that PTSD was taking a lot of our veterans daily. And so, the first organization I worked with was Dispensary. They've sold now to another corporation, but they asked me, what are we going to do for our veterans? What kind of discount, are we going to offer? And it took me a few days to really sit back and think about what counted, what was going to make the most impact. And a lot of the dispensaries were offering, 10%, 15%. And so as the market was, coming to fruition, I said, we need to do 22%. One, because that's how many we're losing every day to suicide. And we know cannabis is a lifesaver. So, at the same time, Hemp Exchange was going in, Veterans Initiative 22 was going in really fast. And that kind of, you're talking about growing, so we were, growing hemp out in the fields for industrial. And at the same time, we were writing applications to go through the whole gauntlet of ownership of a real license, a medical license in Maryland. We were going for a cultivation, processing, and dispensary license at the same time. So we put together a pretty quick team. We put a lot of time and effort into it, and unfortunately, we didn't make it at the end with gaining a license. In fact, we lost one of our own in that process. So it took its toll. So Veterans Initiative 22 is still active. They're still working hard out of Maryland. I just moved to West Virginia, and I'm now the West Virginia director, kind of doing the same thing, working with the industry, working with legislation to help try to modify some laws that are here that are kind of archaic. And so Maryland, we've got a good 70, about 75 dispensaries out of 100 that support our program. We got a lot of
Oh,
veterans
wow.
that are employed there. And we just hope to do the same here in Maryland and as we expand. West Virginia's a tough state. The laws are a little bit difficult to work with. A lot of organizations are starting to come in and try to just, give us direction and guidance. But we feel that there's a House and Senate bill right now that are almost mirrored each other. So I think it cross over. I think these two bills may become effective. And it's an adult use program, not a medical program, but we'll see what happens. They're trying to pass another bill right now to take away our existing gun rights. Like, we don't have enough trouble already with our gun rights. There's about 6 delegates in West Virginia that want to take all of our gun rights if we even have cannabis.
Oh.
So we got our cut out for us from that perspective. Those are the things I was doing as I was graduating organic farm school. How you're asking me, how did I get into bees? Well, up at the farm, we had some beehives that they were just, one of the prior members of the board, bees. And they were just test bees. He wasn't doing anything with them. And so I noticed nobody would cut the grass around the bees. So I was the only one that was kind of bold enough to go up to the beehives and kind of mess around with the bees and, get a weed whacker when they weren't so active. Like, I'd go up after hours, like when it was dark and the bees were already inside. And like, I kind of learned them on my own about how I could just hang by them without getting stung. And I said, this is pretty neat. And then I saw an organization online that were taking care of veterans and beekeeping. I said, wow, now this is special because we need help with these bees. And, I think it'd be neat to learn more about them. And so I reached out to Monica, one of, the executive director of Mission Beelieve. I saw a flyer for beekeeping for veterans. And I invited her out to Talmar to, give us a real quick education on the bees. So she volunteered her time. She came out to Talmar and did a free bee class with her son, Tristan. And this night introduced the Mission Beelieve. I was actually a board member at Talmar after I finished the graduation. They asked me to become a board member. So I sat the board for a good 2 years. And we brought Monica and Mission Beelieve up there for the class. And, that was the first time I ever looked inside of a real beehive. And, there's this aroma that came out of them that smelled kind of like sweet and musky at the same time. And so, right away she found that with the bees. And so, she started helping Talmar get their bees back up to a livable state because they were declining and they were all going to die eventually.
Oh no.
And so jumped into this program with Mission Beelieve and took the first class 3 years ago. And I've been taking the class three times a year ever since. I've long graduated from the class. I keep taking this class over and over because I learned something new. One, it's a class for veterans, active duty and first responders. So I'm in with my community, right? Because it's all about camaraderie with me and teamwork, understanding each other's language. And so that's, number one for me is being able to interact with my peers when I can. So, it's an online virtual class, and I'll share more with the class briefly, but so it's a virtual 7-week class. It was 6 weeks. It's 7 weeks now. And it's really an introductory to beekeeping class. And it's for first timers who just want a change of lifestyle, who want to learn a little bit, and who just want to see what it's about. And so I got stung a few times, and I said, you know what, this is where I need to be, because bee sting is a whole nother level of therapy. Other than the bees themselves, coming from the city, coming from a very stressful life, just driving out to Mission Beelieve out on the farm was therapeutic. So I left the city bounds. I'm in the countryside. I'm looking at farms and I'm smelling the aromas and hearing the animals and the birds. Then you get to the farm, and so the first time I got up there, everything was in bloom. It was the perfect time of year, and I fell in love, and it became like a family to me, just extension of my family. Monica, Tristan, Kyle, their whole family had, kind of like just took me in. But not just me. This is what they do with all of the veterans and active duty and first responders that go through the training. We're just, one big happy bee family. And so going through the training, we get out and do the hive dives every month. So I get the hands-on experience. And I coined hands in the hive to help me stay alive. There's this aroma, there's this hum and this buzz that, when you're close to it, and if you're, it's a little nerve wracking at first. Of course, we wear the bee suits and the veils and the gloves, and, we can go as protected as we want. Some people are a little more risky. But the vibration and knowing, it's almost like if you talk about a hive life, right? They all have a function with each other. Some go out and get to forage for food and nectar and bring back water. Some are tending, the combs for the honey, or by capping it, or protecting the young, or just taking care of the queen, making sure she's healthy and laying and fed. And it's almost like military philosophy, because everybody has a function. Everybody knows what they're supposed to do. And they're all working for the common goal of helping this, hive stay alive. And so from my perspective, we had sailors that work with me, for me, and I work for, other sailors up and down the chain of command. It's almost like there's this whole chain of command in this bee world. And it's kind of comforting. And to know that you're an integral part of this, because remember, there's honeybees and there's native bees. It's a whole different world of honeybees and native bees. They live differently. Honeybees all work together in the hive, and native bees are more free in, how they live. And so the goal is, the final product, of course, is the honey. That's the nectar that we enjoy so much. And it's this whole life cycle. They don't have a long life cycle, but when they do, they're working from the moment they're born to the moment they die. They're working for the common good. And so to know that I could be there and, help them survive with the education that I'm getting, and that, the goal is to enjoy the gold honey at the end. It's almost like stealing from them, but if you do it right, you're not stealing from them. You're just, taking what you need and leaving them with what they need. But we can argument, and we can get all the training in the world about how we can help them survive. But at Mission Beelieve, we just
I just wanted to stop and ask if it is a program that you can do virtually.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't hear.
Yeah, so it's
I just wanted to find out, how is there, like, you hook the person up if they're coming from a different state? Do you hook them up with a beekeeper that's close to them so that they can go out and experience on hands training too?
Yes, without a doubt. That's our mentorship program. So we don't just have beekeepers from Maryland. We've had beekeepers as far away as Germany. We had a American retiree in Germany going through our course. So beekeeping is a little bit different in each location. Really it's about hot and cold climates. That's where you want to be careful. So what we do is, if we have a student, we'll just use Ohio for an example. If we have a student in Ohio, we will connect them. We'll do the work in the background, connect them with a local mentor through like a local bee club or association, because we have good connections at a lot of the different states right now, and we continue to expand. So yeah, our mentorship program is alive and well. I'm fortunate. My mentor is the executive director, so I'm able to reach out anytime I need to talk about questions with the bees, or talk about the program.
Mhm.
And
I have a question. I signed up for the program.
That's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I'm able to reach out at any time.
So if you signed up for the program,
Peggy, did you say you signed up for the program?
yes, but well, I haven't been able to order the book. Should I cancel taking the class, or can I still take the class if I don't have the book?
Okay, right now we're in a fundraising state. We had an issue. At some points we had as much as 140, 150 people per class. So it was getting really expensive to take donations and purchase all the books for all the students. And then once all the books got out there, unfortunately, we maybe had 80 people that showed up for the class. So we just say take the class, and that'll get you what you need. It looks like Monica just chimed in. Hi, Monica, how you doing? Glad you're online with us. You just take the class. And if there's any issues about a book, we'll make sure you get a book if necessary. But it's not necessary for the book unless you want it for the class. We'll give you all the tools there.
That's awesome. I just want to take a moment, if you could, Eryck, and ask if anybody had any questions that may be watching that Eryck could answer before he goes on to his next segment of sharing about this program that he and Monica is in charge of, and that helps the veterans. Anybody have any questions? Please post them in the box, and we will put them up for Eryck, and he'll pay attention. And when he sees them, he'll take a stop and answer them. All right, go ahead, Eryck.
Sure. So we've got some great things that have just happened or continue to happen up at the working apiary. So beekeeping, bees are in an apiary, and it just happens to be a farm. So we have an apiary farm, and that's where we do all of our in-person hive dives every month, special events, courses. We do our special festivals. I'll call up the calendar here in a little bit. But yeah, everything that happens is amazing up there. We have just finished construction of our therapeutic bee house. And this is a special bee house that allows people with disabilities, allows our veterans and first responders and family to actually go inside. So when we're picking up these beehives, some of them get pretty heavy, 30, 40 pounds. And somebody with disabilities can't just pick these things up. So it allows them to go in with wheelchairs or other, means of transportation to get inside. And there are drawers that literally slide out. And so basically the bees don't come into the house. It's where everybody's protected from bee stings, and they can do beekeeping even with disabilities. So it's really important to know that there's these programs out there and opportunities that are for people with medical and physical disadvantages. At the same time, we were talking about that therapeutic value. There's a vibration that bees release, when they're vibrating, humming, is the same frequency as a therapeutic blanket. So we'll have an area in the bee house where we could actually lay down for a duration of time, just kind of absorb in that harmonic, the aroma, all at the same time. It's just going to be a tremendous release of, chemicals in the body for a real therapeutic value. So while I'm on that topic, sorry, I'm looking down, I'm getting the exact date. We're having a ribbon cutting specifically for the Therapeutic Bee House on May 18th. If you can, if you're around and you're available, mark your calendars, and we'll go over more scheduling of what we're up to. But that's very special. And so,
that's awesome.
all this is done. Thank you. All this is done with donations, with people's hands on approach, just helping us out. So we continue to work and trying to do things bigger and better all the time. And one thing that we're working on now, our next big fundraiser, is our honey house. And so what is a honey house? Well, so we've got all these great bees making all this wonderful honey. We've got all these, veterans and first responders and family and active duty coming out, from different parts of the community. Beekeeping can become a little expensive. And so what the honey house is an extraction house. So we'll have all the equipment necessary. And we'll go into more about why some of this is important for our so all the equipment necessary for the community who does beekeeping to come in and actually do their extracting, some bottling opportunities. And so it has to be, food grade sanitary equipment and material in there. And so our next big fundraising push is for the honey house itself. We've got some great ideas on how we're going to cut away some of the space at the farm and make it more accessible for those in our program. So we're always looking for mentorship and sponsorship. So we've got a package for individuals. We've got a sponsorship package for corporations. So we're on a big campaign this year. It is kind of costly to run nonprofit work. And, we're pushing through a lot of students, to be quite honest with you. And in order to do that, we're working on some fundraising programs. Let's see.
You mentioned that.
Any questions so far?
You mentioned there's a bee house and honey house. So can you raise bees in a greenhouse, or will that kill them? Because, Minecraft has everybody believing that you can make everything into farms that are self-sustaining and everything. So I was curious.
Peggy, you brought up the same question that the other day that I had about a month ago. And I asked Monica, I'm like in my zone thinking, okay, what if we put bees in a greenhouse? How are they going to thrive? And like, the recommendation is don't do it. It's not something that's common. I watched the X-Files too that one time, and I saw where they had these swarm bees coming out of this special little place and, doing like attacks, etc. I'm like, so it's not something that's recommended. Bees need their space. They need about 3 miles of space to go forage for their food.
Wow.
The queen, she has to go up to her.
We're having technical difficulties, Granny.
I could see that. I don't know if it's on our end or if it's on his. It looks like it's on his.
Grounds, which is some distance from, you would think that might be able to produce flight space. And
Let's see.
Hey, Eryck, we're really having a hard time. You're breaking up really bad. So can you stop for a moment while we talk to Mike?
Sure.
Are you there, Mike? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. We're trying to give Eryck a chance for his computer to catch up. I don't know what's causing technical difficulties. I'm chatting with technical support at the moment.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
So
go ahead and move forward.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's not that. What's happening is we're just getting a little bit of lag, and we have to let it catch up. So it's no big deal.
Okay.
And I've turned off the banner too. The streaming banners also cause lag issues.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know if it was our end or what.
No, it's probably StreamYard. They tell you not to run streaming banners when you have lag issues. So.
Oh, okay. Oh.
What happened?
Where did he go?
I think he's logging and coming back.
Oh,
So,
okay. Hey, well, then let's do this.
Do the news?
Yeah, let's do the news.
Okay, guys, hang on a second, and I will kick it over. So, I don't know if anybody knows what they're looking at the moment. This is an organ that was created to play a 639-year-long song. It takes 639 years for this organ to play one song that was composed by an individual John Cage. Let's see. I'll go ahead and read the story. This is actually from Sonia Anderson out of the Daily Correspondent, February 9th. An organ tasked with playing a musical composition as slow as possible is living up to the challenge. It just changed chords for the first time in 2 years. Crowds gathered at the church at Halberstadt, Germany this week to observe the instrument as volunteers added a pipe to slightly alter its song. The wooden framed organ is currently 23 years into performance of an American composer, John Cage's organ, as slow as possible. That's the name of the song. So,
Oh, wow.
set up and maintained by the John Cage Organ Foundation, the piece began playing in 2001 and will conclude in 2640, over 600 years from now. Cage, who died in 1992, was known for his experimental works. He once wrote a composition entitled 433, which calls for 4 minutes and 33 seconds of musician silence. In 1987, he debuted performance as slow as possible in Metz, France, lasted under 30 minutes. Later renditions have been even slower, such as Diane Lucha's 2009 performance of the work, which lasted nearly 15 uninterrupted hours. The Halberstadt performance, though, outdoes any other. Now, let
I
me do
wonder
something real
what the
quick.
thrill of that is.
That's
Mike?
John Cage right there.
Oh, sorry. Eryck's back with us, and he's
Look,
We're going to go
Let me
ahead
go ahead
and
and finish
the news, and Eryck
And
will
then
bring you back in.
okay.
yeah, no, he's okay. Leave him there.
Yeah.
As NPR's Rob Schmidt reports on the John Cage Organ Foundation, a group of professors, scholars, and theologians gathered in the late 90s to plan the longest possible performance of the as long as possible. They disagreed about how much to honor Cage's wishes. They said, "Oh, the organist must sometimes have to go to the loo or sometimes eat." Foundation members Rainer Nomberger tells NPR, and then one person, he was at a theologian, said, "No, the organist must play until he dies from the seat." So yeah, this is pretty pretty interesting story that happened. Okay, the next one's kind of pretty comical actually. So
Okay.
you know what you're looking at right there?
A baggie?
Well, that's correct, but it's connected to a business card. You want to hear about the story?
Well, yeah.
Okay,
This is
so this is
interesting.
a cocaine business card. A man is facing a half a dozen charges after apparent bid to boost his drug dealing business by handing out free samples of cocaine at a local casino caught the attention of the Calgary police. Police said, hey, officers patrolling a downtown casino on Christmas Eve became aware of the card that had been handed out to the casino goers. The cards included the name Alex Lee and had a small baggie of suspected cocaine attached. Investigators tracked down the suspect via his Alex Lee alias through January, gathering evidence and eventually identifying his vehicle. On Saturday, police pulled over the 2020 Toyota Tundra, arresting the driver. Officers searched his truck as well as his home in Beaconsfield Place, I'm not even sure what that is, seizing almost 60 grams of cocaine portioned into individual packages, a digital scale, and $1,280 in cash and the Alex Lee business cards.
Hey, he was trying his best.
So the guy's name is Saeed Amir Razavi, 30, is charged with 2 counts of drug trafficking and 1 count of possession for the purpose of trafficking and 3 counts of possession of proceeds of crime under $5,000. He was actually released from custody and is scheduled to appear in February.
Oh,
So-
that's funny. I mean,
Oh no,
he's
this
a
is
businessman.
even better one. All right. So this is a radio tower, right? An entire
okay.
200-foot, an entire 200-foot tower was stolen from the radio station WJLX AM in Jasper, Alabama.
They
Thieves
stole the
toppled
tower?
the whole tower, copper and everything. 200-foot tower. Thieves toppled and stole the 200-foot tower of a classic hits AM station in Jasper, Alabama. The theft was discovered late last week and also included the transmitter and other equipment. Station owner and GM Brett Elmore broke the news on the station's Facebook page on Friday, February 2nd. He goes, and this is quote, "This is going to get out eventually, so I might as well make it public before it does. I have heard of thieves in this area stealing anything, but this one takes the cake," unquote. Station owner and GM Brett Elmore wrote in the posting, "This morning, my bush hog crew went down to the tower site we have behind the Marjac to do early cleanup of the property before we did some more work down there. When we arrived, he called me and notified me there was not only that not only was my building vandalized, but my 200-foot tower was gone. They'd stole every piece of equipment out of the building, cut the guy wires to the tower, and somehow managed to down a 200-foot tower and take it from the property. Jasper Police is investigating, and hopefully they will find who did it. It is a federal crime to tamper with federally licensed facilities." Let's see. Okay,
Oh
here's the
my
last
gosh.
quote. He said, "I don't see some guy off the street doing this." Elmer told Inside Radio, "This looks like a professional hit." He said the station engineers filed for an STA with the FCC now that the AM signal has been knocked off the air. Local broadcasting colleagues are offering help to possibly find a temporary transmitter location at this time.
Now,
So,
what are they?
yeah.
I mean, what other things can you do with that?
Well,
thing?
there's a lot of precious metals. Matter of fact, our guest can tell you all about communications and antennas and precious metals. I believe he had a whole class on that at one time. So
That is just crazy. I mean, don't they have to have like one of those
That was
trucks?
now relocated. I'd say that
That's
tower is
crazy.
relocated for a pirate radio station.
well, somebody come in with the lift helicopter and they just cut her loose and took off, because I'm not seeing how you get a 200-foot tower moving across land without anybody noticing.
Right?
That's a lot of metal, man.
Mhm.
So
Unless they already just cut it up.
Well, you don't know. The people that actually gave him the tower he might have got it repossessed and he's just griping. So you never know.
Can you repossess it? Yeah, I'd like to see you come and yeah. Okay, we'll show you.
Yeah, I don't take bets on that one.
Mhm.
All right, guys. I'm gonna let you guys have it again. Good to see you back,
Okay.
Eryck. It sounds like
Thank
you got
you,
your
Mike.
signal now too. Oh, no problem.
All
All
right.
right, Eryck, here we go.
There we go.
Oh, looks like we got a little slide. So, this is just Mission Beelieve up at the apiary farm. Every year we have our festival for the community, and this is one of those special days for us, World Honeybee Day. And so I was just walking around the farm, taking some pictures, and just enjoying it.
It's a beautiful picture.
Next.
Okay.
Thank you. We were doing an outreach event with Reefs across America, and so we were asked by one of our local organizations to come out and share our program. It was a veterans event. We were actually this is Kyle. This is Monica's husband, and his father was a Vietnam veteran, and so this day we were actually honoring all of our Vietnam veterans, and so it was a surprise that we had a chance to bring his own father out and honor him for his sacrifice and service during Vietnam. And so there is a major push for all of our veterans to officially get a public recognition and appreciation. So this is just a great day to allow us to get out there and share our message and recognize our veterans.
I've got a question. You can see the honey sitting there on the table. Does it make a difference whether you store it in plastic or glass?
You can find honey in a lot of different ways. Plastic and glass, really the most dominant. In my opinion, I like everything out of glass. It lasts longer, and I think the shelf life of honey could be up to 3,000 years. So in the right containers, you can get that longevity. They've opened up tombs in Egypt, and there's jars of honey with the mummies. And I know historically they would wrap mummies in honey and cloth for preservation. So yeah, honey can last a long time. So glass lasts longer than plastic. Biodegradable. I think glass has plastic beat. We don't want to use metal. I use honey in everything, right? So we don't want to use metal spoons, silverware to stir our honey. it can change actually the enzymes and change the medicinal benefit of the honey. That's a tough one. It's so easy to use metal, but wooden spoons are probably the best way to go.
It'll taste different if you try it both ways. I've done it intentionally after I read that it kills the good enzymes in honey, and so I intentionally tried it, and it is a huge difference in taste if you pay attention.
I have a question too. Since it says Heroes for Honey and then veterans and first responders, right? We've been talking about that. Does the VA, since it's a, program through the VA, do they pay you guys for us to do this?
Okay, right now we are strictly voluntary. We do not receive anything. It's strictly donations and the family work and effort taking care of veterans, and they've been doing this for 3 years out of pocket, except for the donations that we receive. And that's why it's important this year for us to go out for our sponsorships. We are currently working on a program with the VA through their VRNE, Veterans Rehabilitation Program. So we have to get actually certified through the state of Maryland Higher Board of Education. So we're working on some of that right now. It's a long process. It takes 3 years to get certified by the board. So we've been in fruition for 3 years. So we're right at that juncture where I believe we could get grandfathered and get that certification. And yes, at that point, we would get into contract writing with the Veterans Administration, Voc and Rehab Program, and the veteran could get funding, as well as Mission Believe could get funding for providing
good
and changing. So hopefully in the near future, we'll get more on that as we go through the policy and the checks and balances. It's pretty lengthy.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that because, when you hear about a 501, you're like, how are they even surviving if the VA is saying, oh yeah, this is a great program, but we expect you to carry all the costs. Wait a minute, how is that benefiting the veteran unless you guys are willing to open up your hearts? And how many businesses are going to do that, even though you're a 501? So to me, that's amazing that you guys have been doing that. So I'm saying from my perspective as a veteran, thank you so much for opening your program to veterans and first responders, because that's a huge cost. Like I can just imagine. So I appreciate that.
We love it. We get about 100, somewhere around 100 per class. And it's just amazing what the family's been able to do for veterans. And it's actually, some of my work now is as outreach. I'm the one who's really trying to, they've got all that work in the background. They're taking care of the veterans, taking care of the bees, and all, they're outreaching. And so what I'm trying to do is, start bringing opportunities like grant writing, hopes, because there's a lot of great grants for the USDA, through state, federal agencies. Like saying it's worth every penny. She should come into her own story with you guys. I really should say it's
well, we need to have her come on too. We'll have to schedule her in because she sounds like a wonderful person with a big heart.
Yeah, it's a family affair, and it's through the family and taking care of veterans and her own family, and taking care of herself, and that led her and Tristan to do this. And every time I go up to the apiary, when I see the family, it's like, oh my God, that you want to talk about that white picket fence philosophy and how a family should be. You look at them; they're all playing together, laughing together, celebrating life together. And that's just therapy alone, because I'm coming from broken families and relationships. And it's so great to see the purity in what they're doing with themselves and with their community. and with the veterans and first responders as a whole. So they're family.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Now I have another question. When the person signs up and everything, when you get them guided and they're right there to go for it, what would be the biggest suggestion on the payback? Pay it forward. That thing. So what I would like to do, and I'm sure my co-host, who is my co-host IT person, when you guys are ready to do an event, let us know. We will put it on our website and we'll blast it on our Facebooks also, because we would like to spread the word and be a support system as much as possible for you. So you let us know, and we can, like I said, I'm sure Peggy and Mike would be in agreement. I think it would be perfect, don't you, Mike?
Yeah.
Peggy?
Yes, ma'am.
So we want to be partnership in spreading the word, and you let us know what we can do to help, and we'll do our best.
Well, you're doing it right now, to be honest with you, by allowing us to come on and share what we have going on and how we're taking care of our veterans. So this is how our partnerships develop and start. And thank you for hearing what we do. There we go. It's, like I said, hands in a hive help me stay alive. So this is one of the times I've been, felt comfortable getting and opening up the hive. And what we're doing is we're doing an inspection. Not necessarily just looking for a queen, because that's not, we're looking for signs and symbols that she's laying. So, wow, that's a lot of honey on that one right there. So you can see these things start filling up with a lot of weight. And we're looking for mites. We're looking for pests that are coming in. We're looking for the volume of honey. We go a little bit deeper into the hive. We'll be looking for where the queen is laying. There's a lot of visual cues, because it's hard to find the needle in a haystack, right? The queen looks very similar to the other ones. There's, queens, drones, and workers. And so she's just a little bit different, and it's difficult to find her, but we can find signs that she's in their lane and we know we're good. We don't have to make sure we're digging her out and we could harm her in the process. So really, a lot of times, you don't want to go in a hive, frequently. You want to let those bees do their thing. They know what they need to do. You're just providing a good environment, a good space, and you're just checking on them periodically just to make sure there's no harm coming to them. They can, get pests and mites and critters like to get in there. So, it's our job to protect them, just like we protected our sailors and our troops.
Now, do bears
just
come
moving here? You were getting ready to say it. To bears, yes. So I just moved to Virginia, and another reason why I'm not bringing my hives, there's a lot of bear in the area. So we want to protect the hives from the bear. We'll build fencing, animal fencing, basically, to keep out the bigger pests, the bears. Deer can get in there and mess around. Groundhogs, badgers. So yeah, there's a lot of animals that they want our honey too. So we got to protect them from the elements.
I would have never thought. I think of one bear or something. Didn't know deer. That's crazy.
Medicine, Granny. Medicine for us works for all mammals.
Yeah. Is that the last of the slides?
No, there's 3 more. So
So coming from the Navy, we got our construction battalion, the Seabees. And so up at the farm, Kyle was always building up there. We got John, who's actually making hives with whistle pig apiary. Whistle pig woodwork. There are on-site woodworkers, so he's helping build hives for us. It's like his own business, and this is his therapy. So Navy, Seabees, this is their emblem because they're always building things, and I just feel like this is how I come back and feel more Navy like. You know, all the branches have their hoo-yah, go Navy, or you know, aim high, or what have you. So this is my like, whoop, Navy. Not sure what else we got there.
See, there's beautiful hives.
So okay, these hives. My uncle, we've had some struggles in our family. There's a lot of problems in the family. So my uncle was going through a program. He was in charge of their beehives before he passed away. When he passed away, the organization donated his beehives to us at Mission Beelieve. So the legacy of my own family, you know, not just me that were into bees. I have family, and you know, we've got my uncle's beehives up there at the farm now, and so technically they're my bees. I feel that they fit really well into Mission Beelieve with their theme. So we like to paint our hives. We don't have to leave them natural in color or what have you. That makes no impact to the bees. Honestly, they're not looking at their hives. They're running off, or flying off aromas and smells. But it's for us a nice landmark. So a lot of the beekeepers love to do different things with the hives. You know, you see the American flag there, and so Mission Beelieve, you know, allows us training, education in all aspects, including how to take care of our hives and paint them properly and protect them. Because we want to make sure we have a good, clean, safe environment for the bees. And so there is maintenance requirements.
So there's specific type of paint that you use that's non-toxic to the bees then.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and then this one here, that looks like the picture of the farm, perhaps?
Yes, this is a picture from the farm. This is one of our good times a year. It's not just an apiary. Monica and the family have turned this into a bee sanctuary. Look,
I guess it's beautiful.
There are hundreds of thousands of flowers planted every year. So there's programming up there that, you know, we look for a lot of volunteer work from the community, or other groups come in. And so through the leadership, they've got a beautiful, beautiful, what I would say is a flower yard. And we also, I failed to mention, part of our bee store, you know, we not only sell honey, we sell, you know, things that come from our own creations. Like at the right time of year, the family would dry these out and put them as part of gift baskets. And just, we have flower sales as well. And for me, you know, I'm into native bees. I'm trying to preserve our native bees, not so much just the honeybees. That's a good hobby, but our native bees does very important things to our environment. And so leaving a sanctuary like this is, you know, thinking about our native bees as well. So it feeds both the honeybees and native bees. And you were joking earlier about putting butterflies up. You know, equally, you know, they're all pollinators, and they're taking care of our fields, our crops, flower fields, our food fields. So they're importing, exporting honeybees all across the America. You know, not Mission Beelieve per se, but big corporations are, you know, doing this type of farming work with bees. So I think it's a view of all of us to help save the bees.
Absolutely.
I believe that. Because aren't they saying that the bees are an endangered species or something like that?
Yeah, there's over 900 varieties of bees. And so there are quite a few varieties that are already extinct or on the verge of extinction. There's a bumblebee up in Pennsylvania that's on the verge of extinction. Now, when we're talking about honeybees, you know, they're managed by humans, right? So a lot of it has to do with human error. We lose, not we like at Mission Beelieve, but even Mission Beelieve, we have bee loss. So this is something also that, you know, from a veteran perspective, what happens when we lose our bees? Well, we know about all these diseases that are, you know, problematic to our bees. And so there is an expectation that we could lose our bees. And so, you know, it requires us to be intelligent about what we're doing, get the education. There's amazing bee programs out there that go all the way up to master beekeeping level. And so we partner with a lot of these organizations and colleges from Maryland to Florida. In our training and education, we have the leaders of the bee community come and teaching, credentialed instructors from the University of Florida, Maryland, and other organizations. So I think we've got a good 7-week program covered for beginner beekeepers. And we not just talk about all the ins and outs of beekeeping, we talk about the therapeutic side of it as well as the economic side of it, on how we can, if we're interested, make money off beekeeping as a profession. We've developed a honey bee buyback program. So all of our veterans and all of our people who are engaged in our program, at some point, if they want to sell their honey, which a lot of them do, we will actually buy the honey back from them and part of our bigger programming. So we rest assured, any veterans that are, have honey that they need to sell, we will partner with them, we'll engage with them.
So,
Wow.
Eryck and Granny, would you say that eradication of hemp plants and other natural plants from our natural ecosystem has harmed our bee population?
There has been some research in beekeeping and cannabis cultivation. We talked about industrial. We're talking about thousands of acres. There is some pollen that can come off the hemp. I wouldn't say substantial amounts. It's not producing a lot. But yeah, there's some research out there on the topic. I guess pollinators do pollination. So depending on what you're trying to grow out there, if you want to grow all males or something like that, and you don't want it to flower, pollination is pollination. So it could definitely open up your fields to cross pollination. There is some hemp research, not a lot of it going on.
So Monica says it's less of a habitat is one of the biggest reasons pollinators are in trouble.
Yeah, so you saw the picture of Mission Beelieve, the farmyard with all the flowers. So when we're getting into urban areas and urban growth, we're looking at concrete versus concrete and grass versus plants that are native or flowering plants that produce nectar and pollen. Yeah, urban sprawl has a lot to do with our bee loss. There are some, city planning officials that are, looking to better their area. So there's programs out there called Bee Cities. Mission Beelieve helped Westminster, Maryland, become a bee city. So that's really talking about how can we increase the bee population? How can we do better in our community with farming as well as planting to flowering. And so, we're heavy on chemicals when we're trying to do our on cultivations. Maryland is another state just 2 years ago that passed a law that banned some of the more harmful chemicals that were actually killing bee populations. So there's a big difference between organic farming and industrial farming, right? And so industrial farming, there's a lot of chemicals being used, and they are really wiping out. The same bees we're going to pollinate are being wiped out by the pollution the chemicals that have been put on the plants that they're sent to pollinate. So yeah.
Are the GMO plants affecting the bees as well? The genetically modified plants, are those affecting?
I'm not heavily engaged in the digestive system of the bees, but without a doubt, there's, think about any living creature being impacted by our environment and chemicals. So there would be some kind of impact. I'd have to come back with a real educated response to that, but it's on my list.
I'd really be interested in knowing, sir, because I noticed a difference. My husband and I have both tested with organically grown heritage heirloom food versus GMO food, and my body immediately has a reaction. And so I know if me as a human has a reaction to the GMOs, then something as tiny as a bee surely is affected negatively by these genetically modified plants.
Sure. But some of these GMOs obviously are done chemically. So right there, we've talked about chemical exposure. So when they're eating things that are in the environment, it definitely will have an impact. But I'm certain there's studies and research, and we're going to come back to you on some of that, so you have it.
Okay, cool. So if a veteran says, oh, golly gee, this is really something I think will help me, and I be helping a mission, I have a calling, whatever you want, I have a mission. So how would Joe Blow, he's got PTSD, he's got some mental issues, so retaining information and maybe some difficulties on communication, how would he feel safe and comfortable coming into the program?
You have a very good question. We have a lot of veterans who are afraid to go out in public. I know Monica has mentored one of our students who was just like that when they met. First, I'd have to say, we're a lot of veterans already in the program, and so they can have one-on-one conversations with us, and just any veteran, that is trying to seek help. First, we would hope that they're going through mental health treatment. We don't want anybody just left suffering without any support. And that's why we're working so closely with a lot of the organizations that we do, is so we can spread the word about the work that we are doing. So if a veteran, sees Mission Believe and is curious about what we're doing, one, we would just send them, first they would look at the website, see what we're up to. We've got information right there, missionbelieve.com. They can come check us out virtually first. If they're comfortable talking on the phone, they could call us up. We'd be happy to have a conversation with anybody that might be interested in beekeeping as, a hobby or as a profession or just for therapy. Some people just need a place to do, put a lot of their energy. I think that's why I do what I do, is for therapy. Like if I didn't have, all the things that I've got going on, it would just let me sit and ponder and reflect and think about all the negativity. It's actually getting out there and doing something about it. And, mental health, start finding friends, people that we can trust and rely on. We all know somebody. And so if we got to know who we can trust and feel comfortable with opening up and communicating, that's one way to help somebody. When they come into the program, we've seen a transition of some of these people who were like the recluse that hide out in their home, but they get into beekeeping and they engage with us. And now we've got some of them even teaching some of the classes. It's just amazing.
Okay, good.
We do our monthly hive dive where we
Thank you, Raymond.
Yeah, so they can come in person or we can do Zoom communications. Every time we have a meeting for our partners meeting, partners is just, anybody who's engaged in our program is really a partner. And so we have some stress relief therapy session right before we start our meetings. So there's a lot of ways that we hope that we're doing our part to make our students more comfortable. A lot of us get in our own little groups, how we're meeting each other and we're, sharing our own stories. Sometimes that allows other veterans to open up and, get some relief or share themselves. Really, Therapeutic, we're really about suicide prevention when it comes down to it, and finding ways for our veterans to, keep going and be successful in their lives, or, depending where they're at in the lives of others. So we've got people that you mentioned, like, if it's hard for us to retain some information sometimes, you can come to the beekeeping course 1 time, 2 times, 5 times. It's really up to you. Every time you'll get something else out of it. And hopefully when you're getting out of it, you're also getting more than just education. You're getting some kind of sense of being, where you feel comfortable at. Because at the end, we are a big family, and we're always trying to help each other out. So I've had calls late at night from, students, or, not just for coordination of the class, but you're just trying to outreach and talk to somebody. I've had to do that myself. Good point. Tomorrow is our last day for sign up. We wanted to get the message out more tonight. So tomorrow we're closing up our sign up for our upcoming class that starts on February 12th. It's every Tuesday. I got that right. 7 to 9 o'clock. And it's a virtual class. Monica, put that in the chat. Keep me on course. 7 weeks. We've added an extra week, and that extra week is to share about who we are and how do we develop our partnerships. And because we really want everybody to engage.
Right.
Were there any more questions?
Let's see.
Peggy, go for it.
Thank you for putting that in the chat, the sign up.
Anytime. I put that sign up in the chat. I wanted to make sure before we got too far along that you remembered I do have the sign up for the American Legion membership as well. So I didn't know when you wanted to speak on that, but I am going to go ahead and put that in the chat. So if you're watching, check the comment section.
Sure. I could go into some of our discussion.
Here's I'll put it on the screen as well.
Okay, great then.
There we go.
So this is where actually Peggy and I met. We are new members of American Legion. Great. So Peggy and I are members of American Legion Post 462 out of Lakeside, Montana. Montana, you say? You're in West Virginia, and you're in your state. We are a virtual American Legion post. We transition our philosophies at the American Legion on how we're trying to attract new members. This is one way we found to be quite effective. But I'd have to say we are a very unique American Legion amongst others you've probably ever seen. Not only are we virtual, we do heavy emphasis on lobbying and advocacy for psychedelics, as well as medical cannabis for our veterans. So last year, under the support of Dr. Sue Sicily, if you're in the cannabis space, Dr. Sue Sicily. She's dedicated a good portion of her life to veterans, PTSD, suicide prevention, and cannabis. As of the last few years, she's engaged in psychedelics research. She was one of the instructors at the University of Arizona. She got let go because of her work with veterans in cannabis. So she went over to the Arizona Institute of Research. And so since then, she's been doing cannabis and psychedelic work at what I say at the highest levels. Last year, we were able to pass our first resolution through our post, all the way up the chain of command to the national conference. And our first resolution was passed, and it was utilizing psychedelic, psilocybin, MDMA, ketamine infusion, therapy for PTSD. So basically, these are alternative therapy techniques that have been proven scientifically through research to be effective with PTSD. So we were able to get to the national convention And just in October of 23, the American Legion passed our resolution nationally. Right now, we're working on our second resolution, and this is basically going through the NAG and using the opiate fund, the opiate settlement fund, to help support some more research. So this resolution will also include cannabis as well as the other assisted therapies that we were just talking about.
I have a question.
Yes.
What does okay, so I was part of the American Legion. So you got the resolution passed what does what happens next with that resolution? Are they taking it to Congress, or what's the plan of the American Legion now that you guys got the resolution passed? What's the plan with that?
Glad you say that. Historically, back in 2019, the American Legion had a resolution passed for medical cannabis research. And so it was really exciting when that happened. Since then, there hasn't been like proactive approach in the Legion to, see what's happening on the federal level for research. The work that we're doing at our American Legion post is just that. We will be the conduit to taking action on these resolutions that are passed. So we're working with MAPS, we're working with other high-level agencies and organizations that are already doing research. And so this resolution, if it passes, it'll be using the opiate settlement fund to help support these alternative therapies. So it'll be up to us to, run it up the flagpole. Hopefully it gets passed. It's in the chop chain right now at the local level. But next year it'll be at the highest levels. And we'll be lobbying and advocating at the end of this month. They're having a convention in DC. So we'll be up there, trying to fill in
that's
the
where the
wickets and
national
get this bill
convention is
looked
this
at.
year? That's where the national convention is this year, is DC? Okay.
Yes, at the end of the month.
Okay. I think I would like
correct.
to switch my membership over to your
And
virtual
so we'll be up
one.
there doing some lobbying and advocating for our resolution.
I have a question, if you don't mind, Granny. Now, since you're actively working on this, I want to make sure that my fellow veterans and fellow Americans are not being given synthetic versions of this of the psilocybin and stuff, that they are able to get the natural version. Is that in there to make sure that the natural plants are available for people that have allergies to synthetics? Or do you know?
Yeah, you heard some of those. Yeah, we do have psilocybin alone as its own product, as well as cannabis.
Awesome. Well, that's really cool. You're just a busy guy.
Yes, he is.
You're burning the candle on both ends.
Well, there was another link you sent me about the strongernavy.org.
Got to burn that beeswax.
Yeah, there you go. Did you want her to put that up?
Got that going right now. Strongernavy.org.
At the American Legion post in Montana. Sure. Okay. So there's an organization that I've recently, and I'm excited to be part of, called Americans for a Stronger Navy. Coming from the military background and the family and my own career, it's who I am. I feel like I've never left. So right now we're going through a lot of problems with enlisting the right sailors, retaining the right quality of personnel, and so there's a major downsizing to our forces, and supposed to basically have a 2040 plan to have a 355 ship Navy. Right now, we're down to about 280-ish, if I'm not mistaken, ships. So we're far from making the mark and the impact globally that we think we are with our countries like Russia and China, North Korea becoming tighter and more profound in our global scale. Comparison to our NATO and our own forces that are starting to shrink in size. We're having retention issues, and we're having shipbuilding problems, and there's some things that we need to look at to make sure that we have a stronger Navy. So we're a community membership-based organization that's fighting, lobbying for a stronger Navy. And that's everything from personnel to assets. So part of my little, mission, I believe, is working on some of our recruitment issues. We're falling short of about 40,000 recruits this year. 4,000 recruits this year. This is interesting because just yesterday they came out with some news that they're now allowing new recruits in that have cannabis in their system. So a lot of the different services are doing different things to try to get more people in because we're not getting enough folks in our military.
Yeah.
Navy's having the same problem. Army is, no offense to the Army, they are letting in people with known mental health problems into the Army now as new recruits.
Not even
so you can see where we're going
school.
with this. Navy is now, we're finding ourselves, in difficult spots. I know collectively that our militaries are always trying to take care of our sailors, our families. They're always trying to make sure that we've got what we need to fight that fight. But for some reason, we're not just getting the people in the services anymore. So I think part of my effort will be like trying to figure out why. Where are the shortfalls? One, we know what we're doing good, right? I did 23 years. I know what the Navy did good. I know why I stayed in. They took care of me, my family, my education, my schooling, my health, my comfort, my well-being. And I'm very happy with everything that I've gone through. And I know the sacrifices that I made. I get that. But I think it was a good payoff, right? And I think it's still a good payoff to serve our country. Something's happening. We're not getting the people in. We're not building right. We're slowly losing our power in this world, and it's painful to watch and see sitting on the sidelines. After 23 years, it's still in my blood. After I got my Fleet Reserve letter saying, "No, you're really done."
Oh no.
So they wouldn't even let me back in, even if they needed me. But so I'm seeing these transition in what's happening in our Navy, and we're really trying to find ways just to make us much stronger, and have that presence, because it's all about the open sea lanes, right? The Red Sea, the things that are happening, they're trying to shut down all these different geographic oceans, and that's world trade. And part of our effort, we say world police, we are, because we're trading with the rest of the world. And if we can't keep our sea lanes open, we've got a problem. And some of those sea lanes are literally getting shut down by our adversaries. And so, we have been at war, and we're at war right now. And so we need to make sure we're doing that effectively, with the right quality of equipment and manning. So that's kind of what my purview is at the Americans for a Stronger Navy.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I'm going to go ahead and we'll have one more chance on if there's any other questions from our audience. Please go ahead and sign in. I think if you're not signed into Facebook, you need to be able to ask questions, just in case you didn't know. And Peggy, did you have any last questions?
No, you covered pretty much all the ones I had. How about you, Mike? We can't hear you, Michael. You're muted, hun.
Thing I was interested in was the American Legion sign up personally. Well, I've already signed up for the beekeeping class, by the way. But
Great, wonderful. We look forward to having you.
oh man, I'm looking forward to it because that's something me and my wife are trying to do is get to a self-sustaining situation. You know, we're setting up the greenhouse and everything this year. And I was like I told her, I said, we need to look into beekeeping. We need to go back into looking into having chickens again. Forget going to the supermarket anymore. You can't get healthy food anymore. That's just plain and simple fact. So, you know, you're kind of a blessing to all the veterans, man, as far as I'm concerned. It's hard to find mentors, you know, doing this stuff. It really is.
And, you know, when we get into the class more, we'll get specifically where you guys are and start working towards making sure you have the right mentor locally for you.
Okay, cool.
Hey, and, of course, the best part of doing beekeeping is being able to sample everybody's honey. So when you finally get that honey after your second year, not your first year, after that second year, I'll be there to sample.
Awesome.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Now, what about the American Legion? What's the number in Montana? What American Legion number?
Yeah, we're post 426 out of Lakeside, Montana. Dr. Sue Sisley is part of her ranch that she has for the post itself. Right now, we're doing some great things in the community. They just did a big food fund drive for a local food bank, as well as we're putting in a air gun shooting range for the community as well. So, you know, unfortunately, I'm not boots on ground in Montana because I'd really love to do some of that stuff. But they've got a great group of folks over there taking care of it. So they got me fighting on the hill.
Peggy, can you make a banner of what the name of the post that they need to sign up for the virtual?
The link right there is scrolling across the bottom, and I've also put it in the chat a couple of times. That way, if
okay, thank you.
Vets Chatting with Granny Lisa, the Facebook for Vets Coming Clean, or Vets Radio Syndicate, they will see the links for all the stuff that we have had on the show today, so that they don't have to type it out. They can just go and click.
Awesome. Thank you, Peggy. I wanted to make sure on that.
You're welcome.
All righty. Well, for me, my closing comment is, you know what, Eryck, I think you guys over there are doing such an awesome job. I hope that you guys will be able to get pushed through the things that you need to get the support from the VA. I would think just on the mental health prospect of it all, that you guys should be getting compensation for. But, you know, we don't run the VA yet. So maybe one of these days us veterans will actually be able to. But I really do appreciate all that you guys are doing. And so please pass on the word to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And do you have any closing remarks, Eryck? Is he frozen?
Maybe frozen.
Are you there?
There he is.
Will do. And we thank you for having us and sharing our message.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this evening. Always remember, if you see something, say something.
Just that, you know, really it's about the teamwork and camaraderie, that we all come from a lot of different places in this country, in this world. Test 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, we got you.
Got you.
Just a second. I'm going to shut the banners down again.
Yeah. Okay.
Test 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1.
You there?
There we go.
Okay.
I don't know why we're having so much trouble lately, but Go ahead,
I
Eryck.
just want to thank you all for having us, and sure, I just want to thank you all for having us, and really, it's about teamwork and camaraderie. That we all have a common vision and mission, is really it's just to take care of our veterans and in all aspects that we can, and really that's the therapy within itself.
Right, I agree completely. Okay, Peggy, Mike, go ahead and take us home.
All right, guys.
Oh,
Go ahead, Peggy.
if you enjoyed our show, please visit our website at vetscomingclean.com. Sign up. We got all kinds of interesting things in there, past shows, past guests, and please like and share on your Facebook our show, and we appreciate and love you all.
Night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night, guys.